A lot is going on in the world of politics. I'll see if anybody joins us to have this discussion about what's taking place and how it is impacting our own lives and all along those lines. But Trump has revoked EPA findings on the greenhouse gas threat in a huge blow to climate change. So that is definitely something that people are talking about. Is the EPA reversed a long-standing climate change finding, stripping its own abilities to regulate emissions. So Trump formally rolls back scientific findings on greenhouse gases in a major change to U.S. climate policy. So that is definitely something that folks are talking about in the world. Democrats reject the latest Trump House proposals, raising odds of a partial shutdown. So that's definitely something in the political track that is taking place as well. The Department of Homeland Security is on track to shut down, with lawmakers leaving Washington and an unresolved ice fight, and all in that space. So it does look like we might be having another shutdown in that way, and we'll see how folks react to that and what people's thoughts are about this possible shutdown. South Korean intelligence agency is assessing Kim Joo-a as a designated successor. So it seems like she is being groomed to succeed him as a ruler and all along those lines. So definitely that is something that folks are talking about, as the North Korean leader has chosen the daughter as the heir, Seoul says, and all along those lines. So we'll see how this plays out as well. And the Bangladesh elections are going on. It looks like Tariq Rahman's BNP has got a strong lead and all in that space. So they have held their first elections after the 2024 student protests and all in that kind of way. So definitely folks are talking about that. Getting a job is harder, is what the Wall Street Journal is saying, than toppling the government for Bangladesh Gen Z. So apparently it's very difficult to get a job in Bangladesh. And Russia says it has blocked WhatsApp amid a wider clampdown on social media. So Russia has ordered a block on WhatsApp in the messaging app crackdown, and Russia's crackdown on Telegram app prompts rare criticism from soldiers and pro-war bloggers and officials. And Jesse Von Rutzelaer has been identified as the suspect in the Tumbler Ridge shooting. The police identified the 18-year-old as the suspect in that particular case, and Canadian Prime Minister Carney will visit in Tumbler Ridge after that mass school shooting took place a couple of days ago, and all in that space. And as we were talking about earlier, Jim Ratcliffe on the UK immigrants. Ratcliffe says sorry his language offended some people after criticism of immigration comments. So Manchester United co-owner Jim Ratcliffe says sorry if some were offended by his remarks. So football versus reject Sir Jim Ratcliffe's cynical, self-serving electioneering is what the Guardian is reporting, and all along those lines. So we'll see if folks agree or don't agree. And Russia has started an evacuation of its citizens from Cuba amid the island's jet fuel crisis. So Russia shrugs off Trump's tariff threats on those who provide oil to Cuba. And Russia is dismissing Trump's tariff threats on Cuba, saying we don't have much to trade. So definitely that is what's going on in that space. I think there was an interview with the successor in Venezuela where she was saying that the person that is currently in the jails here in the United States is still the official ruler of that country, even though he was apprehended and is currently in our court system to go on trial and everything like that. But that was on an interview that she had on one of the major networks, and all in that space. And EU leaders will meet to counter pressure from Russia and China and Trump. So at the EU summit, Macron sets a June deadline for EU economic relaunch package. So definitely we'll see how they are doing in terms of their economy as well. So lots going on in that space. I'm going to bring Sasha Starr in, see what he's got on his mind. Maybe he's been watching the hockey match. I was watching it. The last time I checked, it was 1-1 Latvia in the U.S., but I don't know who's winning it right now because I had gotten away from that and everything like that. But there was some good competitions going on, and I was watching some of the Winter Olympics. So, Sasha, can you tell me who's winning? Because I know you follow hockey.
Yeah, I'm following up on that. I'll just tell you in a sec.
Okay.
Let me take a look.
It was 1-1 the last time I checked.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Hmm.
So we're going to hockey.
Hmm.
US is leading 4-1.
Okay, so they took a commanding lead. So they scored 3 goals in recently. So they started taking it to them and everything like that. Looks like U.S. forces are withdrawing from Syria's Al Tanf area. So U.S. forces are leaving bases which they used in and Israel. The president visit to Australia sparked some protests, and Australia police are those lines, and now they're having reactions to that, both here as well as across the globe. So, Sasha, I don't know if Sasha heard
Oh,
following
Mark,
the story or not.
I'm losing your voice. Your connection is not stable. So I can hear something, but I'm missing a lot of what you said. You're frozen now, right? Mark? No.
In Ukraine, and I'm gonna go out and come back in.
Yeah, I'm losing you all the time. So I cannot hear everything what you said. Actually,
Okay,
I have difficulties.
I'm gonna come back in. So just share with them some news. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I'll get back, come back in. Hold on.
Yeah. Okay. I'm waiting for Mark to reconnect. In the meantime, there are a lot of news, of course, happening or so. I don't know which one you would like to discuss or you're interested. For example, this vote in the Congress about uh, tariffs against Canada. So there was a vote that all these tariffs have to be gone, and now that will go to Senate for another vote. However, even if Senate will rule the same thing, then Trump can veto all these votes. And actually, he threatened already all Republicans who will vote for to stop the this tariffs against Canada. They will be all punished without exception in the upcoming elections. So that's something to think about it. For Republicans are in, they're not doing that well because obviously this midterm election looks like it's completely lost for Republicans. However, to quit Trump is an evil probably just as great for them because without that, they're nobody, they're nothing. So it's you have to elect one of two great evils.
Can you hear
Which
me
one?
now?
Okay, I can see you and hear you.
Okay, so I had to switch computers and everything like that, so at least you could see and hear me and everything. But you were telling about what's going on with Trump and all along those lines. So it sounds like he's got some serious issues, and that there is definitely some things that he's doing that is causing him to lose popularity. So he's even losing some of his base and everything like that. Because I'm even hearing some of the Olympians are protesting against some of the things that he's doing as well. So definitely, it's a lot of people that are upset with him and are trying to get him removed from office. But we heard earlier that Nick was saying that maybe in after the midterms that he will be impeached and we'll have President JD Vance and everything like that. But I don't know that we want President JD Vance because he might just be as bad, if not worse, and everything like that. So what's your take? Do you think that we will have President JD Vance in the year 2026 or 2027. So do you think that Trump will survive what's going on? And the other thing that I talked about before you got out here is apparently he's put a serious blow to climate change because he has repealed the EPA emissions policy. So definitely it looks like they are going to let people do what they want to in terms of pollution here in the United States and everything like that. So it does seem like he's doing a lot of things that are not that popular and everything in that space. And then what I was asking you about is what you had heard before the computer started acting crazy about Australia and the protests that were going on in Australia when the Israel prime minister came to visit. So there was a lot of talk about his coming to visit and there being some major protests there and everything like that. So I didn't know if you've been following that story and if you had any thoughts around that story.
No, I didn't follow the story, and I don't understand what he needs to do in Australia to begin with. And okay, if he thinks it's important to visit, then he has to eat it all. What can I say?
Yeah, and I don't know how much power it wasn't the prime minister; it was the president that was going to visit the Israeli president, Isaac Herzog, that was going to visit Australia. So I'm not sure why he was going to Australia in the first place, but maybe he was going to build up some support for his Middle East plan and everything like that. But there was a lot of pro-Palestinian protesters that were there and everything. But he was going there, and maybe he was trying to say so there's some good things in that space. And apparently, Hedges is in the news again as well, because he is saying that the NATO allies are missing a good party as they meet and adjust. So I guess he's saying that that some of them should be there because he's urging Europe to take the lead on defense in NATO. So he wants them to take the lead on their own stuff and not depend as much on the U.S. and the U.S. Economy to support their defense and everything like that. And I know some of the countries there have actually done quite well in terms of supporting themselves, because I think some of them have mandatory service, like the draft and everything like that. And some of them even have women that are in the service, because I understand that there's a strong army, maybe not as strong as the U.S., but a pretty strong army in some of the English countries. Nowhere near the strength of Ukraine. We know what Ukraine is doing to Russia and everything like that. But what are you hearing about the other Western nations in terms of their strength as a military force?
Well, U.S. is extremely powerful force against defenseless countries like Venezuela, probably Cuba, probably some other countries, but even Iran. U.S. cannot do anything against Iran. Okay, they can continue bombardments of the buildings here and there. They cannot get their foot on the ground. That's the main story. Without their foot on the ground, they cannot do nothing about Iran. And I'm not talking about real military powers, like can they attack UK or France or even some lesser powers? Absolutely not. So all this posturing, spending $1.5 trillion for the Navy and building all this new machinery and so on, this is all money laundering, because it doesn't create anything. It's not an economy with a $38 trillion debt. It's all laughable. There is nothing. And so therefore all this posturing is good for nothing.
Well, speaking of posturing, it looks like NATO is doing some posturing, because they say that NATO launched the Arctic Century military effort seeking to move on from the Greenland dispute, and the UK will boost her troops in Norway to counter the Russian threat. And apparently Sweden will be sending fighter jets and Rangers to patrol Greenland in a NATO mission. So I guess some of these European countries are going to try to protect their interests in NATO, and I mean in Greenland and all in that space. So it looks like there is some posturing going on in that way. And I know we were earlier today talking about immigration and everything like that. Do you think the U.S. will ever set a limit on how many people can come into the country? Because apparently Switzerland is about to vote on capping its population at 10 million. So they're going to be like, if we get to 10 million people, we can't have any more people. So they're going to cap their population at 10 million. I don't know what happens if we go over 10 million. Maybe you got some theories, but they're going to cap their population at 10 million. Does that mean that they start shipping them out if they get over 10,000, 10 million in one? Or does that mean that they start eliminating them? And we know what elimination can mean and everything like that. So how are they going to cap 10 million? Because, I mean, people have sex all the time. So I don't know how you're going to cap your population.
There's a great difference between Switzerland or a country like, for example, Poland
Hmm.
and United States, because both Poland and Switzerland, they are country mm, with the population that raised in the same education, religion, and all other system of beliefs, and they don't need anything foreign to change the fabrics of their society. They don't want it. They just don't want it. That's the end of story. United
Yeah.
States, though, is immigrants' country. There are all immigrants or sons and daughters of immigrants or grandsons and granddaughters of
Hmm.
immigrants. There is nothing else to it. So therefore, US can close the border, US can stop immigration, but it's not going to be able to function because most of the population of US, they are unable to work, they are unable to produce anything sustainable, and all they want is to get free coupons for food, entertainment, and they're not capable of anything productive. So therefore, even this Trump's plan that he told us a few months ago that he arranged for $17 trillion worth to create a new businesses, working places for masses and so on. So, first of all, there's no money. Nothing came out of the 17 trillions. Second of all, even if it would come something, you will not find the workers for all these new businesses because most of the people, they just don't have necessary skills, and those with skills are already busy elsewhere. So if they will leave their places of work and they'll move into this new business, who is going to replace them? Nobody.
Yeah, I guess they think AI might replace them or something like that. It does look like China has successfully showcased their new moon ship and reusable rocket. Is they did a test yesterday, so it looks like they are going to be joining the no, not the arms race, but the space race and everything like that, because
Oh, yeah.
they're planning a 2030 crewed moon mission with a long March 10 rocket and everything like that. So it looks like they'll be trying to get some people up in space as well and joining the race along with others. India will probably join. I think India has already joined the race, but there'll be other countries that'll be sending folks to the moon, and who knows where they'll go from there. Maybe they'll go to Venus or go to other places as well. There's no telling where they might decide to take these trips and everything. I did see, and I know you'll be talking about this tomorrow morning and everything, or to yet tomorrow morning. But it looks like Russia has targeted Kiev, and I know that's where our man is at, Ivan, and everything like that. But it looks like they targeted Kiev and Ukrainian cities with ballistic missiles as of yesterday, as Moscow stalled on the peace talks and everything like that. So they're saying that Russia fired another barrage at those Ukrainian cities as the next round of U.S. brokered talks is unclear. So what's going on with these talks, and are we just going to have another war for another 4 years or along those lines? Because it looks like they are definitely targeting some of your home country's big cities.
Well, I think Ukraine was a good boy for Trump for a long time, say a year.
Hmm.
Zelensky, after this horrible debacle on, what is it, February 29th of last year, so he was trying to repair a relationship with Trump and doing everything what Trump told him to do. But it didn't work well for Zelensky, unfortunately, because the goal of Trump was to deliver to Putin a complete surrender of Ukraine. That's Trump's plan. There are no negotiations. There is no peace. There is nothing. Just this complete surrender and capitulation. And this is the reason why, while there were meetings and peace talks and so on, nobody stopped Putin for attacks on Ukraine, killing the innocent civilians, women and children and so on. No, no, because it's part of the Trump's plan to completely to deliver to Putin Ukraine. So there will no such a country according to plan of Trump and Putin. It will be divided between Russia, maybe a couple of other countries. If not, then Russia will take it over. So there will be no country of Ukraine. It will be extension of Russia of some kind. And then there will be a grand bargain. It's $12 trillion bogus performance, and only with the old idiot like Trump that could work out. But we'll see.
Speaking of Trump and some of his idiocy and all along those lines, he created this new version of the UN called Trump's Board of Peace or the Board of Peace. And apparently some other countries have said that they don't want to join it. So Italy says that they cannot join Trump's Board of Peace because of their own constitution. And the Italian foreign minister confirms that they're not joining it. And also Poland says it's not going to join it as well. So what countries are going to join this Board of Peace, and what exactly is the Board of Peace supposed to do? Because I'm trying to figure out what it's supposed to do other than maybe give Trump some more money. I don't know the purpose of this Board of Peace. We've already got a UN and some other international organizations where the countries talk to each other. So what's your take on Trump and this Board of Peace and why he even wants a Board of Peace?
The idea is to create organization in parallel with United Nations, except that this organization will be ruled by Trump until his death. And each country has to contribute at least $1 billion, which will be completely controlled by Trump. That's all purpose of this organization. So anybody who wants to support Trump for the end of his life, welcome on board.
So they can do that if they want to do it and everything like that. So definitely we'll see what goes on in that space and all along those lines. I did have a lighthearted story, and we'll actually end probably early, like maybe at about the 30-minute mark and everything like this. But if you got some other things that you want to share about some of your other shows, but it looks like a Dublin student, a student in Ireland, has made a full Iron Man superhero suit. So sometimes people are occupied by war, or occupied by famine and other things. But in her case, she says she was bored. So they said that they were bored, and it's amazing seeing it come to life and everything like that. So maybe they were bored and just decided to grab some stuff and all along those lines, because Iron Man is a very popular show and everything like that. But they got bored and decided to build their own Iron Man suit and everything like that. So I don't know if you, when you were a youngster, ever got that bored that you just sat there and built I don't know what was popular back then, the Shadow, maybe a Shadow outfit or something like that. Because I know when I was popular, when I was a kid, it was Superman and some of those other heroes. But were you ever bored as a child that you had time to get engaged in some of these activities that our kids are getting involved in? Because like I said, this young lady said, I was just bored.
No, I never suffered from boredom. I was busy with whether it's music or chess or I liked a lot of. I played soccer a lot, and sometimes all days instead of going to school, I would play soccer with my friends, and that's about it. So I never suffered from the boredom that nothing to do. Actually, didn't have enough time to do everything what I wanted to do.
Yeah, apparently this was an engineering student. So they said the engineering student brought her childhood superhero dreams to life by creating a full Iron Man suit complete with a glowing arc reactor, laser pointer, and moving parts. So this was only a 19-year-old student that was a second-year mechanical engineering student at the Technology University in Dublin, and they've been involved in a fan of Marvel and a lot of those Marvel shows. I was actually watching, I didn't see the end of it, so I might try to watch it again later, Aquaman and everything like that. I had an interview yesterday, and this person that I was interviewing was a business coach. I think he was an agent business coach, but he lives out in the West somewhere. He's of the opinion that the idea, and I love to hear your thoughts because you do have modern investment, that the idea of the Horatio Alger story or the kind of like building yourself up from the bootstraps and everything is actually more of a myth than it actually should be, and that people should be having a real focused idea of what they want to do if they want to go into entrepreneurship, or even like if they want to go into investment, because apparently he's got like 16 businesses, and he's had a goal of getting up to 20 businesses, but he thought that some of those things that we talk about, including the American dream, are not a reality, that they're more a fiction of imagination. So I just wanted your thoughts on that, and if you had an answer for Young Han, or Always Han, as he is known on his social media sources, because he's of the opinion that a lot of this is mythology.
Well, you have to be very creative, very thoughtful about starting a new business. Um, you know that most of the new businesses fail.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? You'll never get successful without trying.
Right.
So each time, even if you fail, you learn something. So as long as you're determined to succeed, you may go through failures, sometimes more than one or two, sometimes it could be three or four. And if you remember the Walt Disney, I think he had seven unsuccessful
Mm-hmm.
ventures before he actually made it. But again, remember, for each Walt Disney, we have millions of
Mm-hmm.
failures. People who fail, people who end up in soup kitchens and driving some trucks, if they're lucky, by the way. And I'm quite skeptical on the prospects for young generations these days. I think most of them will fail and will end up in flipping hamburgers or soup kitchen or both.
It's quite possible. It's like I know that people, including Jacoby and others, have talked about it even on other networks. A lot of times, the success rate of even our athletes isn't that great, because if you want to look at something like football, there are hundreds of thousands of folks, maybe even millions, that are trying out on a regular basis. But we know the percentage that actually make it on a team, whether it's the NFL or the NBA or a number of others. So the amount of folks that are trying to make it and the amount that succeeded, the chances are very low. I mean, not saying that you won't make it, but you really got to be skilled to make it and everything like that. So there's hundreds of thousands and millions of kids that every day think that they're going to be the next uh, May, that was the quarterback for New England, or they're going to be the next Pele, to use one of your references in soccer, or they're going to be the next superstar that did make it, or even the next Hank Aaron. But we know that those are rare individuals, even Muhammad Ali and everything. But how easy do you? So you're thinking it's not that easy for kids to make it, and even harder for them to make it now with the advent of AI, if I'm hearing you correctly.
Well, that's the biggest trap of professional sport is to show how many billionaires are these athletes in football or in hockey or in this sport and that sport or so on. So people believe naively that their kids will make it out and they will become superstars making millions of dollars or so on. It's a trap. It's very few people who will indeed will make a professional career in all the sports. So they're showing the record-breaking salaries in all these leagues and so on. It's a trap. Please realize, for the few lucky ones, how many millions of people were trying, spending all their money, traveling for these tournaments and here and there, and ending up flipping hamburgers at the best. Remember that.
Yeah, you have to remember that. Speaking of flipping hamburgers, I know that you said that you at one point in your life worked in cruise ships and all along those lines. But isn't that somewhat of a trap as well? Because it kind of reminds me of other industries also. Because I know, and even our own military, meaning the U.S. military and even some of the foreign militaries as well. The great myth that they give you is that you will get to travel the world, and you do get to travel the world. But a lot of people see it as a escape for their trouble. I don't know how it was when you went on, when you were working your cruise industry, but I know with we having a cruise show on the network, and I have been on at least one cruise and everything like that, that I have seen a lot of people from very poor countries, whether it was Bangladesh or a number of other countries, that are working those cruise ships because that is their opportunity to get out and make some decent money compared to what they would make in their home countries. It's the same reason that a lot of people join the military, because they want to travel the world and they want to make some more money than they might in their neighborhoods. But the catch to that, to your point, Tasha, is that those jobs don't last forever. So you might get out, but if you don't save your money or do what you advocate on your show, which is invested your money, then you might come back home just as broke as when you left. So I was just wondering, is that something that you saw a lot of? Because on the one cruise ship that I did go on, I saw a lot of people that were from those Indonesian countries and some of the other poor countries that were working in various jobs, whether it was cleaning service, whether it was some of the other service jobs and everything like that. And I'm thinking that those were ways for them to get out of the poverty of their countries.
I think you're right. The only thing is, of course, all those people on the cruise ships, they're making very little money, because
Right.
the purpose of hiring Indonesians and other nationalities is to pay them peanuts, as little as possible. So I wouldn't be surprised that some of those people would earn $50 a week, maybe even less. Now, in my situation, I was making very good money on the cruise ships, say 35 years ago. We were talking about $800 a week with completely paid room and board and everything. So I would just deposit every week money. And I had an account in St. Thomas, and I was just going every week. When we were in St. Thomas, I would just deposit more and more money, and there was nothing for me even to spend on, because everything was provided by a cruise ship. But you see, the problem is that at that time I was far away from investment ideas. So not that I would spend all this money. I brought most of the money back home, but I didn't have an idea of using this money for investments or so. It came a little bit later. I had a very lucky break early on, and I started to accumulating a large position in a penny stock, which was 50 cents a share. And I started at 50 cents, and the stock went up to $4.70. In my average price, I kept buying at all prices. So my average price was $1.25, which was still very, very good. And even after the 470, it was market crash in 1987, and still stock was about 350 for another year or so. I sold more than half of my position, and I made very good money at the time. So then I started to be more knowledgeable about investments, and I started to use different strategies, and that's what I'm doing now, for example. But it's very different from being on a cruise ship just for
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, much different on the cruise ship. You were much younger at that time. It was probably
Yeah.
enjoying your time. You were probably, even at that time, you were probably single, so you might have even been enjoying some of the social environments as well. Because I don't know how long you and your wife have been together, but you were probably not having some of the commitments that you have to have now as both a father and a grandfather, if I remember correctly, and everything like that. So I think some of
No,
your
I was bringing my wife and daughter on a cruise ship, and they were treated very nicely. They had their own cabin. So, for example, my wife would stay with me, but my daughter would have a separate cabin, and she was a kid. She was 8 years old or so. So it was it was nice. There was nothing to really something that I disliked about it. It was I would qualify it as a paid vacation. Really, that's all what it is.
Yeah. Sounds like a good paid vacation and everything like that. Just out of curiosity, and then I'll get off of this and we'll get ready to end this show and everything. But did you meet your wife at a chess tournament? And am I correct in just thinking that your daughter has a child and you're a grandfather as well? I couldn't remember that and everything like that. But how did you meet your wife at a tournament in Canada or in Europe? And how did y'all have y'all's first meeting?
No, still in Odessa. We were living at the time. And I met her at the officers' club, where she was practicing chess with her coach at the time, who was in involved in an officers club in Odessa. And I was coming there, play with him and other people cards. So she, when I went out for first time with her, she was not aware that I'm a pianist or anything like that, because all she saw me playing cards.
Hmm.
Really.
And your daughter does have a child, so you are a grandparent as well. Hmm.
Sorry. What's the question? My daughter is well. When she became a mother, of course, at the time I became a grandfather.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So you do have grandkids. That's what I was asking. I didn't know if you
Yeah,
had grandkids
two.
or not.
Yeah, two
Two,
grandkids.
two, two.
Yeah.
Cool. Are any of them following in your footsteps and going into chess or going into this whole podcast and media world? So either your immediate child, your daughter, or anybody else, the grandkids, or any of them looking at doing similar work to what you did, even the cruise industry?
No, not at all. My daughter is in business of publishing medical, very specialized publication with her husband,
Mhm.
and so she. I mean, she's of course she's very knowledgeable in music, and she and my grandsons, they love chess and they're sometimes playing, and but not on any serious level.
Yeah.
They just love to follow it.
Yeah, they just look at it as a hobby because it's what I play. It as had a chessboard around here somewhere and may still be around here. But yeah, I like it just more as a hobby because I played it even in high school because I was a member of the even in a rural town like Warrenton, we did have a chess club. So just like we had a debate club and we had a newspaper club, and those were all things that I was part of in my high school years, way back in the '70s and everything along those lines. So yeah, it can be a fun, interesting thing, and then there are those like you that have done it competitively and trying to make a living out of it. But it's interesting seeing people that follow in the footsteps. And then I'll just end on this note and everything because I know that a friend of mine, actually, his father is unfortunately passing away at the age of 90 and everything like that. But he was telling me about some of his family members that are going down to Florida to gather together in his last and final days and everything like that. But they were talking about how one of the his sisters is a musician and her daughter is a musician, but they're different kinds of musicians. I think his sister does like Belinda Carlisle and kind of that lounge music, whereas the niece is more of into the rock world and apparently is making some name for herself. I think that she might be up in the Northeast where it's her sisters
Very
in
good.
Florida, but it's just interesting. There are different styles, but she did inherit that love of music from her mother and everything like that. So I don't think the father was into music. I think the father was a Cuban American. And I think he was probably into other stuff, or whatever his stuff, whether it was business or whether it was whatever his interest may have been. But this has been a fun conversation. I was hoping other folks would join us. Can you just tell us really quickly what we can expect to you? And hopefully Ivan will be joining us. I hated it when I saw that Key was being
Yeah.
attacked again as well. But whether it's you and Jonathan or maybe it's you, Jonathan, and Ivan, what will y'all be touching base on tomorrow on that show? And what can people expect? Even though we're recorded tomorrow, they'll air on Saturday on the chess show. So what can people expect on both of those shows that we'll be dealing with tomorrow when we air one live and record the other one?
Well, on chess show, we will see some of the top games from the Weekend Z tournament recently completed, and on Ukrainian show, well, we'll discuss the recent news of what's happened. My position is very difficult, is because Jonathan, he is a big supporter of Trump, and I cannot openly criticize Trump on the show, not to upset Jonathan, who is a big believer in Trump. And whenever I tell him what are the problems with his economic standing and many other things, he always say, okay, you will see what's happening. Okay, just wait another few months or so on. I say, okay, that's fine. Let's wait another few months. Although it's going from bad to worse all the time. And Ivan, look, he's in a country which is so much suffering going on there. And you cannot criticize, for example, Zelensky and his policy, because what could he do differently? What could he do better than what he is doing? To send Trump to hell and maybe that one would work at least as well as compared to what he's doing.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's been fun talking to you, Sasha. Always glad to hear you, my friend, and everything like that. But we're going to get out of here. I got to do Coco's show. I think she's going to do a Valentine's special, as that's one of our music shows that is here on the network. As she used to be with Gerald Levert and has some friends in various countries, including Morocco and stuff like that. So, but I think today she's doing a Valentine's special revolving around one of the artists that is related to her that I believe was on Stax Records, Stax Music, and everything like that. So she's had people like Melba Moore and the Alita Adams that did As We Lay, and a number of other great gospel and R&B singers on her show that is immediately after this show every Thursday. But hopefully folks will stick around and listen to that. And I'll see you tomorrow on World Edition, as well as on the Ukraine, Russia, China show, and on the recording of Chess. So
Yes.
definitely looking forward to see you tomorrow and seeing all this great discussion that we'll have about a variety of things. So I'm going to get on out of here with our regular outro video, but it's been fun talking to you.
Bye-bye, Mark. Thanks. All the best.
No problem.